there are two big aha moments that have been there for some of them.
We have seen a significant change in both the capability and the ambition that SMEs have on terms of what they can do and what they can deliver when they do come online.
We bring in the plethora of reach to almost 20,000 pin codes in the country, which is practically the entire nation.
In going zero commissions, what we've been able to do is that we are truly looking at it as a platform and a marketplace where we are not charging a tax for someone to, or say for us to just be the middle person.
It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that these are the best of times to be a small or a medium-sized entrepreneur in this country, thanks to the penetration of digital commerce and technology and payment systems. The world is the oyster for most of these small businesses today. And at MSME Exchange, we have a panel that will discuss the opportunities that technology has created for small businesses. Joining us today is Rahul Kothari, Chief Business Officer, Razorpay, Lakshmi Narayan Swaminathan, CXO, Supply Growth, Meesho, and Kapil Thirani, Senior Director, Flipkart. Hello and welcome to MSME Exchange. Thank you for talking to Business Insider at our flagship event. I'd first like to start with, Lakshmi Narayan, if you could just take us through how digital commerce and its various forms, particularly social commerce or new commerce, has created opportunities for people who earlier wouldn't even have thought of becoming entrepreneurs.
So I think, first of all, thanks a lot, Malini, for having me on the panel. I think it's a great sort of topic and good to be on this with the fellow panelists. When I speak about the entire digital commerce revolution as such, if you think about it, right, there's been quite a few years where we've had the entire branded selection, all of those coming through, say, the first 50, 100 million customers. But the big opening up has happened, say, post the entire pandemic sort of came through where there was a genuine need on both sides. From at least if I was to focus on the entire MSME side of things, business continuity itself was the challenge, right? Because everything was locked down, there was nothing there. And that entire thing led to a wave of businesses actually coming online, even smaller businesses or even bigger businesses. But in that entire process, at least in what I've seen, speaking to multiple, say, smaller sellers across the country, there are two big aha moments that have been there for some of them, if they were to look at it. One is the fact that I can sit in one particular place in the country, a small place, say, even in the remotest of town, and I have access to the entire country as a demand base, which is not something that they're used to at all. They're just locked into a local sort of catchment. And that's been a big eye-opener for a lot of them, that coming online can open up so much for them. The other piece also, if you were to think of it, a lot of the offline business runs on credit. Now, coming online improves their cash flow significantly, or at least that there is no reliability problem on cash, and that's been a big eye-opener as well for them. So while there was a business continuity challenge and that led to them coming online, this has now become way of business for most of them, and they see this as a big channel of growth. And that's something that we've done as well. And within Meesho, if you were to look at it over just the last, say, 24 months, overall our supply base has grown up nearly 6 to 8x. So that's kind of the overall trajectory that we've seen, and it still continues to go strong.
Now, my next question is to you in terms of payments and how payments, payment technology, UPI particularly, has kind of enabled more smaller businesses to come online and transact in a much easier fashion. Could you kind of take us through what is Razorpay's experience and how payment technologies have also enabled more sellers, small businesses to come online and sell?
Sure, Mani. Thanks. So SMEs, the expectation that they have to come online and what they can deliver, we have seen a significant change in both the capability and the ambition that SMEs have on terms of what they can do and what they can deliver when they do come online. Like probably 7 to 8 years back, the ambition that most of the SMEs would have is that they would have a website where they are able to market their services and product online. And from there, probably most of the payments or even the purchase decisions used to happen offline, either on a phone or on an SMS, etc. I think from there, there has been a significant shift where most of the SMEs want to make online, specifically in certain segments such as education, whether in segments like D2C products, they want to go from offline to online and make online a significant part of their business. And evolving from where they just used to have some websites where they can talk about their products, they have evolved situations where they have their full shopping carts online, whether they require the payment experience, which is similar to the biggies of the world like Flipkart and Amazon, where they want to provide different kind of services, whether in terms of chargebacks for payments or whether in terms of fraud detection, where the expect both ambition and expectation has become significantly higher, because now they see themselves as online as a major part of their business. And also very, very consciously, they think that some of the large marketplaces or some of the big businesses has become a significant competition from them. Of course, like when these SMEs come online, payments become a very important part of their entire online business journey. So over time, I think the different payment stacks that the SMEs use has also evolved. Like initially, it used to be generally, say, cards is what they would use, or even before that, it would be RTGS, NEFT. From there, it evolved into using cards and net banking at different payment methods, to then having UPI as a new payment method. And now, at least the pull that we see on some of these very specific payment methods, which only large businesses used to demand earlier, whether in terms of affordability, whether in terms of, say, one-click checkout, the expectations from SMEs are also significantly going up. So yeah, that has been a journey around payments. At the same time, the adoption of embedded finance from SME, in fact, I see is higher than actually some of the large businesses that we work with. Typically, SMEs are small, they are more agile, they care more about effectiveness, they care more about even efficiency. Like, for example, the overall Razorpay stack of payments or Razorpay stack or platform has payments, it has banking, it has capital loans, etc. as part of stack. And the way we work with SMEs is where initially we mostly start working with them on, say, a payments journey, but over a period of time, we are able to engage more on products such as corporate cards in terms of providing them working capital loan based on the volume and underwriting that we can do on the payments business. Even for some of the new SaaS products that we see in terms of payroll, we see far more adoption. So yeah, I think as I keep saying and I keep repeating, both in terms of ambition and capability, they have gone significantly higher. What has also enabled SMEs a lot is this change towards new code or minimum effort coding that's required for going online. Like, again, if you go 10 years back, you would require a team of software engineers for say, a business to go online, create website, manage, integrate payments, etc. But now with this no code revolution, things have become extremely simple, where things can be picked off the shelf and different capabilities can be plugged into multiple parts of their online journey. So yeah, ecosystem is evolving and everything is kind of working towards making SMEs far more effective in online world.
That brings me to Kapil. Kapil, how has technology really democratized ease of doing business? And what is Flipkart doing to work with people in Bharat, not necessarily in the metros or big cities? Because the ambition is widespread. There are sellers across the board who have never experienced online selling, but in the last 2 years, everybody's realized that we need to go online. So what is Flipkart doing? What is Flipkart's strategy towards bringing in more sellers online? Because I guess you are doing a lot of work on that space as well.
Yeah. Firstly, thanks, Malini, for having me as a part of the panel. So with regards to the question, I think we have started this journey long time back. Flipkart launched the Flipkart Marketplace around 2012, 2013. And since then, there has been significant innovation that has been done, especially to make sure the reach for the sellers continuously keeps on increasing. We are not focused primarily on selling brands and primarily catering to only a few large corporate biggies. There is a huge number of sellers, and if I can give the number, there is almost 11 lakh sellers which are there on the platform right now. And the work that is being done to get more and more sellers and enable them is firstly making sure that we make it very, very easy for anyone to get onboarded onto the Flipkart ecosystem. When I speak about Flipkart ecosystem, it includes both Flipkart and Shopsy, where we see a consistent stream of sellers continuously keep on coming to our platform. So after we make it very easy for them to come onto the platform, and we make sure that the part of cataloging, which is about getting their products onto the digital framework, we make sure that process is very, very seamless, where it becomes very easy. Within a matter of almost 10 minutes, we can have a new seller, and within a matter of another 2 minutes, he can have his first listing live on the platform. So with that, you are just ready to sell. So I had a product, now it is ready to sell. Now, what does Flipkart bring in? We bring in the plethora of reach to almost 20,000 pin codes in the country, which is practically the entire nation. We bring that into our fold. Then we have a huge customer base who keeps on flowing because of the brand value positioning who keep on coming. And their ability to access these products from these sellers, of which I mentioned was 11 lakh, is practically more than 60% of them come from tier 2 and tier 3. So we made coming onto the platform easier. We made listing onto the platform easier. We have given them a huge number of customers, which is spreading across the entire country. So this part is about making sure your business increases. The second important part which the sellers want is to make sure that their margins keep on increasing. And for making sure the margins keep on increasing, we have a consistent effort to make sure we keep on reducing the cost of doing business. So if you compare, say, 5 years down, 5 years previous and now, the seller's cost of doing business in the country has kept on reducing. And Flipkart has made a consistent effort in terms of reducing the cost, whether it be in supply chain cost, whether it be cost of cataloging, whether it be cost of discovery, everything has been coming down. So seller has started doing a lot of sales, seller has started making a lot of money. The third most important part which Lakshmi did catch up was the part around credit. So if you speak with any of the businesses, right, in tier 2, the biggest fear that they have is, okay, I am selling to an unknown person. I do not know whether I will get my money back. I do not know even, and that goes to also wholesalers and distributors. The biggest problem in this business is the fear of capital getting lost or the fear of capital getting stuck. So with that and the payment policies that Flipkart have, which is as low as 7 days, so you get your money 7th day after you make a payment, after you make a sale. In any offline scenario, that can go as high as 90 days, 180 days, and many of the cases, if you're selling in a very untrusted market, you don't even get the payment. So we have made sure that sellers are getting more and more business. We have made sure sellers are getting more and more profits by reducing the cost. And thirdly, we're making sure that whatever they have made, they're getting that money very fast. So I think prime innovation in all the three areas. And this is what Flipkart has tended to do, where we have made sure that sellers' core business fundamentals, ज़्यादा पैसा, jaldi paisa, etc., is coming to them in a very quick manner.
Mr. Swaminathan, what about you? Meesho has been doing this, and bringing zero commission is a positioning that Meesho takes. Zero commissions, which leads to a much more profitable presence for SMEs. Can you take us through that zero commission versus industry, and how is it really a big game changer? And second, if you could throw light on the whole social commerce bit, because you are very big on social commerce now. That share of social commerce has come down on your platform, but these are newer forms of new commerce is clearly new, and it's an alternate channel which is not the usual the desktop era digital commerce. So if you could explain these two things and how that is being treated by sellers, it would be great.
Yeah, sure, Malini. And yeah, so the first part that you were asking on, say, zero commissions, we do believe that it's been a big game changer. It's been something that everyone else has also done. So that then obviously means that that had its own value. I'll tell you the core thinking behind some of those was that what is it that say a small business or any seller for that matter doing business wants is that they want to, like Kapil was saying, they want to maximize their profits. And say if they are in a cash crunch sort of cycle, what they want is to maximize whatever they can get. In doing that, the cost of doing business, one big part is the entire commissions that are charged. There is obviously the logistics, cataloging, all of those, which across platforms, like Kapil was saying, we also try to keep bringing them down because naturally those efficiencies can be passed on either to the seller or to the customer. But in going zero commissions, what we've been able to do is that we are truly looking at it as a platform and a marketplace where we are not charging a tax for someone to, or say for us to just be the middle person in between, but you can just maximize your profits, or if you're hungry for much more growth, you get the best price passed on to the end customer, which in itself drives a lot of growth, right? Because India still, at the end of the day, is a very, very value conscious market. And that's where zero commissions has been something that we've stayed true to since the time we launched that, because we were clearly able to see first through the efforts of reducing commissions, as the pricing gets better and better, we are able to see far more growth. Then we just take it to the best possible extreme that it can, right? So that's where it is. And then what we see is that businesses are very hungry for growth. So they do spend on other mechanisms and say avenues that the platform provides for growth, be it say on advertising or multiple other things put together. And those are discretionary ones. So that from a zero commission perspective has been a game changer, both on the seller ecosystem side, but similarly also on the customer side, because you get the best pricing possible for a product online. The other part that you were mentioning on, say, the entire social commerce bit, right? I think it was a huge unlock for us from the perspective of getting all of those people who have never transacted online. A lot of them have come online through the entire efforts of, say, someone who was able to connect and get some confidence going for those people who are, say, coming through a reseller or, say, the entrepreneur model, as we used to call it. That entire bit, someone is able to connect in their own network, get a lot more users to come online, transact, and that builds confidence over a period of time. And in that process, while that was really scaling and still continues to scale for us, what we've seen is that as soon as that confidence got built, over a period of time, there were genuine end consumers, the ones that were not transacting anywhere online before, started coming online to buy for themselves. And that's where then we said, again, let's take it to its logical sort of end and become full-fledged e-commerce itself. It's not just one way of working. So that still exists in terms of an entrepreneur reseller sort of model with social commerce. But the kind of scale that we've been able to see over, say, the last 1 year, say, over 140 million customers who bought from Meesho over just the last 12 months. So those are things that both of these have really, really played a big role, both the zero commission bit from a pricing construct and value proposition to bring MSMEs online, but also get the best proposition for their products to the customers, and the entire social commerce in terms of getting reach, then establishing the proposition of buying online, building confidence for the users, and that entire habit formation has been a big game changer. So both of these have been big for us.
Right. My next question is to all, I'm going to ask this to all three of you. Whoever wants to take a stab at it first can do that. Maybe Rahul, you could go first. What about ONDC? Because ONDC seems to be clearly another, huge disruptive proposition, which will change, and it will, sort of go a long way in democratizing digital commerce further. And it also brings down barriers. What is your view on that? Because today a bank can sort of provide me with all the e-commerce requirements that I have. I can route it through my net banking channel, or I can use any other service provider who's on ONDC to access a whole gamut of sellers, right? What does it do to the existing ecosystem, and how does this how does it play out?
Yeah, sure. My view is ONDC is a great initiative. It is something which can bring a lot of new merchants on the online ecosystem. It can push the boundaries in terms of what is the value add that we can give to SMEs much higher, because of course, this would kind of in general try to raise the bar in terms of whether it's about commission, whether it's about how to make it lower cost, how to make it more effective for all the existing players. Now, at the same time, what I have also realized over the last several years is, of course, the SME market in India is huge, and there is no single solution that will be able to cater to the requirements of all the SMEs. Like, for example, even in current scenario, if you think about it, there are all of these SMEs, and we actually have a lot of these SME merchants, a lot of them who would be having their own online presence direct because they want to have direct reach to their customers. They would also be selling on Flipkart because it gives them another avenue to reach out to consumer, and they would be also working with Lakshmi because it gives them a different set of efficiencies for some of their products to reach out some customers. so there's certain set of so given the India as a market is huge, and online kind of from a distribution perspective makes simply open the limits of how big the business could be, and therefore a lot of these evolved SMEs thinks of different platforms as different channels for distribution, whether direct online, whether say with Mr. Kapil or with Lakshmi or whatever, right? So I think in general this would expand the market for online. It would definitely will empower and improve the distribution for all the SMEs. So that's one thing to happen. The second is also within the SMEs, if I look about it, there is a different kind of products, different kind of evolution of SMEs as well, right? For example, at something very basic, when first time a SME goes online and they say do 3 or 4 transactions in a month, they would actually neither be on Flipkart, neither be on, I guess, Meesho, and neither be with Razorpay. They would be just doing some transaction on WhatsApp, and probably, separately one-to-one payment settlements would be done. As they evolve, they would be coming to something like, probably they go to Meesho or Flipkart or come to Razorpay and create their payment page or create their website and start doing some initial transactions. And as they grow and probably, as their brands establish, they will kind of do more. So I'm saying the market is pretty strong, big, and also because these different channels provide new distribution network, I think there will be space for all. This will definitely provide more competition in the market, and which is, I think, in general healthy and good, the way UPI has done for all the different payment modes in India, right? With UPI coming in, not only UPI has been able to democratize payments for so many people, at the same time companies, whether it's cards, whether it's net banking, whether it's anything else, they have been really pushed to kind of improve their success rate and bring their cost down. So I think same will happen there. Now, having said that, I think ONDC as a model, I think it has a lot of I think potential, multiple aspects to it, both from a merchant, I would say the overall the product transaction perspective and also payment transaction perspective. I think what would be required for it to make successful definitely is a strong sponsorship from a lot of the buyer app side and also from the seller app side. And I'm aware of some of the strong commitments that Kapil and team has done over it, etc. And sure, so I think once we have this initial a minimum viable number of people, both on the seller, primarily on the seller side, I think this will be pretty strong growth. Also, I think there is a decent amount of overall, in general, I would certain sense the ecosystem push to make it successful. So yeah, this is, I think, good for everybody.
Right. Yeah.
To continue on that, Malini, I think Rahul had made a few very interesting points on how ONDC is going to impact. I think the way at least we are looking at ONDC, I think we are looking at as a very big enabler for making sure that the pie of the entire retail market or online market keeps on increasing.
Will it be a platform destroyer is what I want to ask you.
Yeah, I think I'll answer that. So in my opinion, it will be a big platform enabler. And I think whichever platform has its core very, very clearly on ground and made sure it is being worked upon. So by core, I mean, say logistics. If you think about logistics, Flipkart has e-cart, which is a very big part of our ecosystem, which can be very well integrated. Second part, maybe say the seller side of the things, where you have a huge number of sellers. If you can integrate that entire system onto ONDC, I think that will be a big enablement. There's huge pair of customers where if you have make sure that if that can be integrated. So I see the power of platforms coming in very, very efficiently at scale, working on the entire ONDC platform. And I think I see ourselves as more of enablers and more of early adopters of this platform. And I think we have been going down that route very quickly, engaging with the government and making sure that we take our initiatives to the right level and making sure that all our core assets, whether it be in terms of supply chain, sellers, customers, payments, etc., everything is being integrated into the ecosystem. And once that is in, I think it's more of a plus for us as compared to being any form of destroy. I would say it is a more of an enablement and a place where we can potentially gain a lot more as compared to lose anything.
Right. It doesn't impact your business dynamic at all because UPI has rendered payments business as not a profitable thing anymore. You can do related activities, but you cannot have a business case where you are making money out of the payments business, right? And we have examples of companies, for instance, which have gone to market with that proposition and has been hammered because people realize now that you cannot make money even if you have a network of millions of payments users, you cannot monetize that business. You have to do other things around it, right? Like lending, for instance. Similarly, do you expect the very business case that platforms are making today, where I will bring the seller, I have my own protocols, and I will ensure delivery and payments and a seamless transaction, but it will be a walled garden? Do you think that ONDC is going to threaten that walled garden approach that platforms have taken so far?
Yeah, so maybe I can start off.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Lakshmi. Go ahead, Lakshmi.
Yeah. So, see, few things, Malini, that I would at least think of. If you compare, say, UPI and say the ONDC system, I think there are few differences that we need to appreciate. I think there is a base platform and a network that will be built by ONDC, which I think is going to be huge and it's going to be a game changer. But the number of stakeholders that you actually need to connect in an e-commerce sort of environment, right? The buyer, seller, logistics, support, there is reverse logistics involved. So there are multiple layers to the entire piece, which is where I think in terms of network effects and enablement, I think ONDC is definitely going to be huge. But the number of things that will need to be managed over here, which will mean that the experience is going to play a huge part just beyond, say, a transfer of money from one to the other and that network enabling certain things. But here there are much more complexities that need to be handled, which every platform, even today, if you look at it, has its own flavor and own proposition that it brings to the table. So that way, I think there are going to be more complexities that the platforms will need to do on top of ONDC in order to solve for the customers as well as the sellers. That's one part. The other, completely agree with what Kapil and Rahul were just mentioning earlier. Beyond that, one of the things that if you look at, right, today, all the suppliers that we talk about in terms of, say, Meesho, Flipkart, Amazon, everyone you take on board and see the number of suppliers that are on board, small, large, all of those sellers, it's still barely scratching the surface in terms of the overall MSMEs that are out there in India. If you were to combine this with the GST regulation change that is on the anvil, the overall market opportunity that exists is several crores of business that are out there. And we're still largely talking about, say, double-digit lakhs in terms of overall sellers that are actually doing business online, right? The government coming up with an ONDC sort of construct actually is a huge tailwind and confidence booster for smaller businesses to consider coming online, because there is still a lot more of, say, some level of tepidness that exists, saying that what does it mean to come online? Am I actually in safe hands or not? Despite all the revolution that has happened from a e-commerce perspective, there is still that bit of caution that a lot of businesses have for various years and various reasons put together. Actually, ONDC coming up may be a huge tailwind where sellers actually start looking at online as a core piece of the business. For those who have tested it out, it already is. But I think it is going to be for several lakhs and crores of businesses coming online and maybe natively becoming online, which is also a trend that we see. ONDC will enable a lot of those. So I genuinely believe that it's going to be a huge tailwind for the entire e-commerce and payments business in general. And there is definitely going to be a role for platforms to play beyond just the core network, what it enables. But yeah, Kapil, you can go ahead.
No, I think I completely agree with Lakshmi, but just wanted to add a few more points. I think to your specific question, Mani, will the way in which money is being made now, what will happen to it? I think there might be some changes out there. People will reinvent the business models. They might relook at things. There will be new things, but I think the inefficiency structurally in the market, what we are trying to solve, right? Whether it be understanding the sellers, making sure they're getting catalog, they're going digital. Second part is the inefficiencies in supply chain, how we are getting it solved, how are we making sure the models become stronger. The inefficiencies in what a customer sees, which is around personalization. I think this entire part has a lot of money inherently baked into the core business model, where if you try to solve for these inefficiencies, I think that can itself be a huge business volume generator for in absolute profits for any of the companies. And I think the companies have to be tied very much to their core, where we try to solve, say, for supply chain, solve for customers, solve for sellers. And in each of this process, whether it is integrated with ONDC, whether it's a separate platform, I think these solving for these inefficiencies give you a lot of money that you can make in the long run.
That brings me to my next question, is about what are the biggest challenges that MSMEs have while coming to sell online? And GST and not having a GST registration number, I think, is one of the things in which I think the government has taken cognizance of as well. So when does that get implemented? And what are the biggest challenges that you people see, and how are you working towards helping MSMEs overcome those challenges so that they can come online?
I think in terms of, say, MSMEs coming online, right, you're right that the GST requirement, and there is a disparity between what is the requirement for, say, doing business offline versus, say, doing business online, which is now, I think, well understood, and the government has also taken cognizance, which is a huge step forward from a policy perspective. What we understand, at least, is that this was supposed to come early January, but now there are certain requirements of changes, say, at the GSTN end, and multiple enablements that are needed, because it's a fairly big change, because of which it is still very much a priority, but is going to come very soon. But the timelines are still a little bit unclear, but we are hoping that it is earlier rather than later, because that again is a big fillip to the overall e-commerce ecosystem. Think about it. If there are sellers who are doing business offline who can just get a lot more customers, their expectation from what needs to come through in terms of additional online business may not be much, but it just opens up a lot more opportunity for them. They're also in trend. They know what the right costing is, what are the sort of efficiencies that they need to meet in order to be competitive in, say, online marketplaces. So all of those become huge drivers. For instance, on our platform, which I think there are a lot more, say, smaller businesses that come online, we see typically at about 65 to 70% drop off at the step where someone needs to give their GST number, because they don't have a GST number. They do not understand it. So all of these people potentially coming online is going to be a huge step forward. So we are really looking forward to that as a big game changer. The other part in terms of the challenges, right, and Kapil touched upon some of those earlier, the entire technology barriers, while it makes life much simpler for them, it's a new thing that they need to get used to. So as simplified as it is, the number of clicks and whatever in the journey, if you can reduce friction, if you can handhold them through the entire listing process, how do you go about the first order? How do you pack it and then fulfill it forward? What do you do in terms of growing your business, giving the insights in a extremely simplified, non-intimidating manner? Some of these are extremely big things. The other parts are also to do with, say, returns, shipments that come back from an e-commerce perspective. In an offline context, they don't know all of these things, right? Obviously, cash flow and all of those are positives, but there is no concept of I've sold something and something comes back. Part of it comes back to me, which is core to online commerce. So helping them understand what value it brings, what it is, why it is core to the proposition, and then just staying the course with them in the early part of the journey is something that we've seen give huge dividends. And initiatives are very similar. How do you make sure that it's very, very easy for them to fill in attributes, give images, which can then go live very, very quickly in a matter of few minutes, and then helping them grow further. What are the tools, levers that are at their disposal in order to grow their business significantly, very, very fast? Those are the things that we at least see are challenges that we are all trying to overcome, but in our own unique ways.
Maybe I can.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So the way, at least by speaking with, like, say, almost thousands of SMEs as a part of our business, what I have realized that SMEs always have to be faster, have to be at lower cost, and have to be more differentiated if they really want to kind of grow their business against the larger businesses. Like that. That's what I think I have seen a common trend across all the SMEs. And as an end-to-end kind of a money movement platform, we have been trying to address these challenges in multiple ways. And maybe, I will try to take a story of, say, one of the merchants, which is representative of a lot of SMEs that we work with. So when a new SME kind of wants to go online, I think whenever they decide to do it, it's like they want to really do it fast, because typically a trigger is because they have seen some opportunities, some customer has said that, okay, let's do it online, and therefore they would not like to lose this business, and therefore they want to go online very quickly. Now, again, if I look back 4 to 5 years back, typically for a SME merchant to go online used to take several weeks, if not months, because they will have to kind of build a new new website, which would itself require, say, a few technology people or outside consultant to build a web page, and even once they do it, getting a payment gateway to accept payments would be taking probably a couple of weeks to a month or even more. I think what we have been able to kind of solve it is by a couple of ways. By having things like payment pages or having payment links where require very minimal, in fact, no software development, very minimal pull and drag kind of changes through which they can go online and have their web page for some basic listing online, and also giving them online payment terminals is actually real time. So I think that is one part of the problem which we solve as the SME just starts their journey. Now, as they start expanding, I think the other thing, and I think in one of the earlier points, I think Kapil was mentioning, credit is also one of the bigger problems for SMEs. Now, while the large businesses can go to banks, they can wait for multiple days to get loans, or even their loan sachet sizes long, complicated. They probably, can sign all those detailed agreements and do the negotiations. But for SMEs, what we have generally realized, the kind of requirement for the credit is typically smaller, very specific use case basis, and also for short term. Now, what we have been able to do it for those SMEs is to, as they grow this credit requirement, how we can provide on-demand credit at a click of a button. Now, as payments player, we are able to underwrite them pretty well because we know the payments pattern, like in terms of last few months or years they have been with us, what's the kind of different payment they have got, whether there have been some risk, whether there have been customer complaints, any chargeback issues. And therefore, we are able to underwrite them again in a real-time fashion and also provide them really small loans. Like imagine for a SME, if say supplier comes and says, okay, I can give you this, say 10% discount if you can pay me today versus if you pay me, say 7 days later, like some of these deals coming. Now for them to get loan, go to a bank is extremely difficult. But in our case, they can just go to a dashboard, click, and the money they were supposed to get in next 7 days, they will get it today, and they can pay to the supplier and get the instant discount. And then the amount can be like as small as few thousands, right? And it's almost real time with almost negligible paperwork. Actually, no paperwork, there's some online contract that to sign. So that's the second part that we are trying to kind of address, and which makes them, as I said, far more faster and far more cost efficient. Now, the same SME, as they're growing, they would realize that now that the organization is growing, they would require some other kind of services, which is, say, payouts. I'll just say example of, say, payroll. Now, if you have talked to enough number of founders in the country, you would realize as soon as their number of people go from, say, 10 to 20, running payroll starts becoming a challenge. Like they might require dedicated person in finance to run a payroll. And the whole point is like, I'm here to do business. Should I spend my almost entire time focusing on what to build for my customers, and or rather should I be thinking about running the payroll, doing the regulatory compliance around it, etc. So here is where our payroll comes very seamless, where because they have, say, a current account with us, because our payroll platform is designed in a way which is pretty much self-serve. You just kind of upload a few sheets, click, payroll is done. Also, all the regulatory compliances are taken care of. So at least the way what we have, as I said, what I've realized, they want to be faster, they want to be cost efficient, they want to be differentiated. And through the journey of the SMEs, we have looked at different parts of money movement, and we are building this entire fintech platform, which makes them more and more of what they aspire to do in these 3 dimensions. And I think, see, while talking to these SMEs might tell this is what they really need, but ultimately the proof of pudding is whether they are using these products or not. So more than 70% of our small businesses actually more than 3 products that we have across this end-to-end money movement. So I think this is also solving the real problem for them. And I think I feel extremely excited about it as well, because through this, they are also able to do a lot what typically earlier only large businesses can do. I think technology is truly a democratizing force for SMEs, where they can really, I think, as I said, overall their ambition and effectiveness is going to next levels.
Thank you, Rahul. Kapil, do you want to take a stab at this?
Yeah.
What is the biggest issue you feel, and how are you as a platform addressing this?
So I think one of the biggest problems, like overall not online versus offline, I think we wanted to address was where we wanted the manufacturers to focus on their core. I think Rahul touched this point very briefly, right? The core of a manufacturer is I'm able to produce great products and make sure that that is what my core is. Their core is not transportation. Where is my cars? Where is my vehicle lorry stuck? I'm not getting the payment. I have to talk to these customers. I think what we wanted to do was make sure that let them MSME focus on what they do the best, which is make sure you build the great products. Everything else will be, you can outsource it to Flipkart, and we make sure we use tech to enable it. So example, right? Most of the people will, if you speak to any manufacturer, like, okay, when is the next lorry coming in? What is the items I put in there? And when will it go and reach to the next warehouse? We have just automated the entire process. I am not able to pick, pack. I do not know how to sell, I can only manufacture goods. Okay, you can send those products to us. That also is technology enabled, and we put it in our warehouses and we sell it to the next customers. So that has been enabled. I am not able to make sure what my CA is telling me. I'm not able to do the accounting, right? Okay, we will make sure that we use technology to make sure all your accounts, etc., is being maintained. We integrated with all the platforms or all the say providers of accounting services, which will make sure that the integration or your part where you deal with the CA becomes very simple. So what we have as a core focus is we make sure whatever we do, we just let you focus on your core, everything else is taken care of. Second important point, I think, as we have seen India just leapfrogging the laptop generation, right? Most of the people are on mobile and they want to make sure everything is on mobile. So do the sellers. It's not only about the customers. So we have taken a huge punt on making sure the seller app that we develop or from which you can do business is very, very seamless. So that entire leapfrogging where you can do cataloging on the phone, you do not have to fill in big Excel sheets and make your life very difficult. So the entire part of your business is now moved on mobile, and what you are doing is focusing on your core, is develop great products. That is what we have solved through technology, and that is what I believe will be continuously keep on getting solved for the next 10 years also. We have to make sure it keeps on becoming easier and easier, and it can be as easy as, okay, I have a product, just take a photo and in the next second it is ready to solve. So that's our vision, what we want to go towards.
Thank you so much. We are really short on time. But Lakshmi, do you want to take, sort of concluding remarks? Any concluding remarks from you, Lakshmi, on overall our conversation and today, and what Meesho is doing to solve the big problems?
Yeah, so I think if I was to look at it from an MSME landscape, right, I don't think there's been a better time for MSMEs overall in terms of just growing their business, the number of channels that are out there, the number of startups, entities that are actually there to solve for some of the problems and say get them that their growth, ease, and say technology in their hands to enable all of this. And I actually believe that Meesho is right at the forefront in trying to solve a lot of this because they're at the heart of our entire ecosystem in a lot of ways. See, multiple things that we are at least trying to do is the entire smaller businesses, what can we do to make it much, much easier for them? Some of the things I don't want to repeat. A lot of the things I think would be overlapping with the things that say Kapil, Rahul had mentioned. There are also things that we are trying to do with, say, multiple government bodies to ensure that we are able to get the right skilling and development and all of those things going, or say even women entrepreneurs to come online, self-help groups to come online and drive a lot of those things, because there is a lot of latent, say, enterprise that is there in the country. A lot of it is in the traditional sort of way of doing business that is just stuck because of the investment that is needed in order to start your own business, right? What we're also seeing as a trend is that a lot of younger generation are actually natively online businesses that are coming through, even as small businesses. It's not just about someone who's having an offline business and then coming online. Obviously, that's a big chunk as well. But there are also a lot of businesses that are coming in natively online because there is no investment needed. There is no commission. So you can test waters. There are a lot of entrepreneurs that we actually find who are actually ones that are sourcing products from offline markets and then just testing waters. And once it starts showing some level of promise, then they go into the entire chain. And a lot of them have now backward integrated and fully set up their own manufacturing sort of facility, employ a lot of people. So that's something that is super exciting for us. And in that journey, I think we are out there to get, say, the next, say, 100 million sort of enterprises online and help them succeed. So yeah, that's about it.
I have spoken to some of your sellers, and I agree that it's a very inspiring story out there. With that, unfortunately, we're really running out of time. So I'd like to thank all of you, Rahul, Kapil, Lakshmi. Thank you so much for talking to us at MSME Exchange. Valuable inputs, and I'm sure that our viewers will take away stuff from our conversation today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Malini.
Thanks.
Kapil. Thanks, Lakshmi.